Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra,
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people.
associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked.
and sometimes what didn't,
You will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts.
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Traveler, foodie, and shopaholic are a few ways that Nimisha Mukherjee chooses to describe herself. One of the few people I've met who discovered her love for computers and programming when she was still in Standard 3. She remains an active developer and designer today at RedHat, where she works as an engineering manager. In this episode, Nimisha brings out a unique perspective on the role of a developer and how she and her team are building environments that can empower and activate developers from anywhere. She dwells on her experience in user experience design and shares lessons from her career experiences and advice for young techies and designers. Tune in and enjoy this chat. Good morning, Nimisha. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Software People Stories. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Chitra, for having me here. I'm excited. I haven't done podcasts much, so let's see how this goes.
Definitely, it's been an adventure for us so far as well. So we usually start by asking our guests to introduce themselves to our listeners. How would you like to do that?
I'm Nimisha Mukherjee. I'm an engineering manager with RedHat. My team works on simplifying the developer experience for building cloud native apps on OpenShift, which is a hybrid cloud platform. So I guess I cover all the buzzwords as part of my profile, technology buzzwords. That's me at work. I have around 17 plus years of experience. I have worked nonstop. I think I've just taken 6 months maternity leave. Otherwise, I've been working all my life. When I'm not working, total family person. I love spending time with my family. I love traveling, going to new places. So the lockdowns kind of spoiled those plans. I love traveling to places. Love trying out new cuisines, going to restaurants and trying new cuisines. So that's what I like. And apart from that, a total shopaholic. I think that's a bit about me.
In fact, you said the lockdown has made you feel a little constricted without the ability to travel and taste food, while there are opportunities for virtual travel experiences. I too, being a foodie, am wondering how could I experience the taste of new and different kinds of food?
I think people are trying to make the most of social media and share what they are trying out at home. I'm not sure how that replaces the actual, senses of touch and smell, and at least visually, there's something which we can see and experience. So sometimes that does lift the mood where you see a friend post a funky recipe, and sometimes it's easy enough. I'm one of those lazy person, so I like those two ingredients, throw it in the microwave kind of recipe. Sometimes I think the social media does cheer me up when I see people posting their experiences. At least sometimes that inspires me to try something new and share my experience.
I know you started your career as a UX person. How did you choose to be a software developer or a programmer, and why did you pick this area of UX?
I think back in school itself, way back, I think we were introduced to computers in third standard, third grade, and it was fascinating how you write a few lines and the computer reacts to it. So I was fascinated with computers from day one. My era is way back when we had COBOL, Visual Basic. That was what was taught in schools. No Java, nothing. It was quite exciting to see that. Since my third grade, I've always stuck to computer science. That's always been my subject. Once I graduated, I did my degree in computer science. I graduated somewhere around 2000, 2001, and the IT bubble burst that, and that was at first big IT bubble burst. and jobs were very difficult to secure. And at that point of time, I was like trying out different things. Strangely, being a woman, a lot of HR kind of jobs were coming my way. But I knew I loved to code. So I just stuck to, hunting for a job until I got a coding job. And that turned out to be something around user interface development. That's writing code to build UI. So that's how I started off. And my first few jobs were around UI development. And then I joined HP, Hewlett Packard, and I joined the printer division. And there I kind of joined the design group. My manager was this fantastic user experience design manager, and I learned a lot from him. So that's where I was exposed to user experience, and we got to do courses on user experience and actually understand in depth about how users influence a product. And this was, say, back in 2005 2006, where user experience and all was just coming up in India. There were very few experience teams in India, so it was very exciting and I got to learn a lot. And it's a completely different way of thinking. So as an engineer, I'll always say that I know what the user wants, I'll just put the icon somewhere. But then when you actually speak to a user and you understand how difficult it is for them to use my product, it's a different way of thinking. So it opens your mind. And since then, I've kind of switched roles between user experience and user interface development, kind of balancing both and moving forward.
Wow, that sounds so fascinating, and completely agree with you there, saying this design thinking is even more difficult than the phrase sounds. And actually empathizing with the user and walking along with the user to understand exactly what's going to work for them, because ultimately it's the user for whom you're delivering value. So what have been some good and not so good experiences in designing and developing for the end user in your experience? Could you share some of those?
I can speak about a few experiences from HP. So we were designing the first web connected printer. We were bringing in smartness on the printer. So at that time, all the smartphones and everything, that was the era where smartphones were coming up. So we wanted to plug in smart apps onto the printer. Like quickly, you want to go from one place to another. You type in the map and you take a printout of the map. All the printers, you just had buttons that you had to work with. Press a button and use that. So that was the first printer where we used a touch interface. So we felt that, okay, as designers, we felt that, we are doing some breakthrough design and the user will just get it. It's such a good interface. And when we went out there and showed it to the user, nobody was able to use it. They're used to the mindset of a printer where they go and press buttons, and now they're just given a screen. They were not able to correlate between the smartphone and the smart printer, right? And then we had to come back to the drawing board, and then we had to still put those buttons, because that's what the user's mental model is, that's what they expect. So then what happened was, once we enabled the buttons, when they pressed the button, there was a movement on screen, and then they would go touch the screen. That's how we learn. We assume something, even though we talk to users and we feel we've done a great design, until we go put it out there for the user, we'll never know. That was one of the initial experience that's always stayed with me.
Nice, Nimisha. I personally, as a user, even struggle today with smart printer connectivity. And you brought up a very interesting point, is that once we get so used to using something, I think that's the biggest shift. And becomes a challenge for anyone trying to introduce a new product, right? So there's almost a way, familiarity with, let's say, Windows, or there's a familiarity with Apple users, and there's a familiarity with Android phone users. And that familiarity then becomes a habit. And it reminds me of what Nirayal has written in his book called Habit Forming Product. How do you, as a designer, go about trying to build a new habit? When you're introducing a new product, what are the challenges that you as a designer face?
I think as designers, the main goal is always to simplify the experience. We always want to make it easy for the user. So sometimes when you introduce something new, there might be a slight learning curve, but if we are confident that this is a better experience, users will switch. Like you said, you get used to something, you're used to Windows, that becomes your comfort zone. But how did Apple become popular? It was a completely new interaction, but it was a better interaction, which the users like. So as long as we keep design brain dead simple, we are simplifying the user's life. I'm sure there might be some resistance initially, but once they like the experience, they'll switch. The focus has always been on identifying when you build a interface or product, you always identify what is the top 1 2 primary tasks that we want our user to do. If it's a shopping cart, how easy it is to find items, and how easy, like when you switch out to the buying experience, how easy it is to check out, reduce the number of clicks, reduce friction, right? So these are a lot of thoughts that come into design. So as long as we focus on keep it brain dead simple and design, I think it should work.
So initially, you introduced yourself as now working to create environments for developers. Could you talk a
That's
little bit
true.
about what's happening in that space right now?
Oh, yes. So it's a very interesting time for developers. The company I work in, we believe in open source, and developers are opinionated and empowered. And we see this new generation of developers coming up where the developer is the decision maker. We strongly believe in that, and we are building a lot of tools which help a developer. So the modern day developer, they're polyglots. They don't stick to one language. They like to try a lot of tools and processes, and they want to move fast. So there are even concepts like, I'm traveling from my home to office, right? I just want to review some code on my mobile or tablet. So the modern developer is very different from, say, how we were as developers. I remember when I was starting out my career, that time Java had a lot of value, and a lot of developers refused to learn something other than Java because they felt Java was king. But today, the developers, like, one day they know, say, JavaScript, next day they know Python, then they know Go. So they're polyglots, and definitely because there's so many tools and technologies available, developers can influence the tools that a company chooses. So that's what we believe in, and that's how we are building a developer experience. We build a lot of tools. What are the tools that will help a developer simplify their daily life? A developer's true potential is to write code and build awesome application. We really shouldn't be bogged down by setting up. Does it work on my desktop? Does it work on production? Does it work on staging? So all the tools help them remove all these, abstract all these deployment, configuration, build, all those uh, steps is abstracted, and they just have to focus on writing code. So that's where we are. And I mean, that's where we believe the modern developer is, and we are enabling them to build applications.
You said something very interesting that
Mm-hmm.
developers are today opinionated, empowered, and are decision makers.
Mm-hmm.
What have been your observations as to
Mm-hmm.
what developers do differently in terms of, let's say, writing, reviewing, and publishing code?
I think maybe if we just take a step back, I think our organization cultures have changed. Previously, we were very averse to trying something new. The companies, they had a product and they would stick with it, be it has a pathetic experience, it takes 20 clicks to actually achieve a simple task. Companies were not open to trying out new experiences and products. So I think there's definitely been a mindset change in organizations where they want to focus on better experiences. So I think people do realize, I think IT has become very competitive. For any problem, you'll find so many solutions. So people have to be on their toes. For that, we need to empower developers. We have to move fast. We need to give developers freedom to work, and the developer can decide how they can work faster, smarter. So that's why I feel a lot of freedom has come into the picture compared to when we were working. So be it the process, like we've moved from waterfall to agile, Kanban, processes have changed. So similarly, the developer role has also changed. So the modern day developer, I think everybody is moving towards open source. If you see, Microsoft also has embraced open source. A lot of people work in the community model. So currently, that's the developer trend that's going on, where you can go contribute to any project, a community project. There's a lot more mind share coming in, so you're solving problems better. So things like I think almost everybody now uses GitHub for their source code control. A lot of communities, Kubernetes, it's completely community driven. Kubernetes is what the whole cloud platform is, driving the cloud platform. So I would say the modern developer believes in community, open source, and I think they're spoiled for their choice of tools. There's so many options. So they can try and use a tool of their choice. So I think that's how the developer has changed. It's just that they have a lot of options and freedom, and that empowers them today.
Nice tips, Nimisha. I had never heard somebody talk about the change in the role of the developer in this way, shape, and form. That was a learning for me. Thanks for that. And very often we see that a lot of organizations are still struggling with good engineering practices. Such a plethora of tools, it almost seems like an anomaly. Certain things like coding disciplines, reviews, especially when you're building products for the enterprise, and having your entire DevOps in place seems to be missing in a lot of cases. I'm not saying in all organizations, and more so maybe where the core business is not technology. Have you had any experience in guiding or helping such organizations quickly come up, let's say, with a solid DevOps tool chain? What would be your suggestions of how organizations can very quickly adopt good engineering practices and maintain a certain level of hygiene from code development to code deployment?
You're kind of just setting this up for a product pitch for me. I mean, I'll just use what we work on as an example, because we actually target the problem statement that you just presented. How do we make DevOps easy for non-technology centric companies? We are trying that with OpenShift. And OpenShift, it works with AWS or Azure or any of your infrastructure base. So what happens is, again, it goes back to simplifying the experience, how easy it is to set up your infrastructure. And with something like OpenShift, what happens is DevOps becomes easy. I was talking about the developer role, where the developer goes and selects his choice of tools. But there's always the concern of security. So how do we know that what the developer has chosen is secure and it's enterprise ready? So that's where OpenShift comes in, where it gives you the same environment. It gives you an environment which is it's got a green from your legal department, from your security department. All the enterprise checkboxes are in place, and at the same time, the developer can access that environment and work easily. So products like, I think, OpenShift, or even there's, I think VMware is also building a lot of such solutions. All the companies are focusing on building such smart solution which help companies do DevOps easily. It's again goes back to simplifying the user experience, remove all these complexities of environment setting and how do we keep upgrading and all that. All of this is kind of over the air, on the click of a button, everything is done. So it goes back to, again, user experience. That's a growing market, honestly. DevOps, that's what everybody is working on.
It's interesting you say that, we often come with or at least what I had in mind was that user experiences for that user outside there who is going to buy my product or buy my solution. And all the while, developers are the closest users of what is going to create that infrastructure for the users out there. So I like the way you've put them at the center of their experiences and how life can be made easier for them.
So I just wanted to, give this example for what you just mentioned. We had OpenShift 3.11. So OpenShift is a very powerful tool, but when we actually went and spoke to users, and by users, I mean the administrators who install OpenShift and maintain OpenShift, they were having a miserable time. And we took that feedback. So our users were administrators, completely tech IT guys who sit and look at servers all day, look at a lot of dashboards. So they became our users. We heard them. And we completely changed the experience for OpenShift 4. We introduced something called over the air updates, and the administrators just loved it because it simplifies their life so much. What took 2 days took 20 minutes, right? So all this comes under user experience. So it's very powerful when we focus on users.
Wonderful. Very, very nice to hear that. Even the IT department is one such place where I think they are simply managing so many different kind of apps and
Yes.
so many business processes. I suppose anything that's coming out there, they will be the first people watching your radars like hawks to see what's coming up next. That will ease their lives a little bit. Nimisha, I've known you as somebody who's been in the space of user experience, UI, UX. You've spoken at a lot of conferences about it. What do you see as a future in the space of user experience and design?
So that's pretty much like blue sky and maybe a bit unknown. But I think I've definitely noticed this in, say, the various companies I've worked on. And I've been part of that aha moment where companies are realizing that users are the differentiators. One good example always is you have your coffee at Starbucks, Barista, or Coffee Day. Why do you keep going back to one of them? Why does one become your favorite? It's because of the experience that you get there. What is the service that you get there? There's something which draws you back to that. All the companies are realizing that, and there's a lot of emphasis on experience being the differentiator. More and more companies nowadays are investing on experience and seeing how can they improve their experience. I think the future trend, nobody would have foreseen the COVID-19 situation we are in today. But I think we have to now look at a new mindset and design for experiences where people may be at home more than actually going out. I think people might be hesitant to go back to stores, but if they go back to stores, what is the experience that you give? So I think at least the immediate trend would be around hygiene, health, safety, security. But futuristic, I think we have a lot of technologies. It's up to the developer and designers to push the boundaries and up to the companies to allow innovation.
Thanks, Nimisha. And you've also been somebody who's been very active on technology platforms and in particular for women in tech. Two questions here, actually. The first one is what would be your advice to women who want to choose a career in tech? And the second question, what would be your suggestions or career advice to anyone who wants to take up a career in user experience, design, and creating some awesome developer environments?
So for aspiring techies, it's anyone. It could be, it's not just women. Aspiring techies, you graduate, work hard, prove yourself, establish yourself in the company, and grow in the company. What I feel is when you keep working hard, it becomes a habit. So when you just sit back, it creates some sort of restlessness in you. And that restlessness pushes you to try something new or innovate or do something. So I think that's what's happened with me, where even if I have some time, I'll go try something, be it working with GHCI or other conferences or pushing some initiative at work. So it creates a lot of restlessness. So hard work, restlessness, innovation, I would say that's how it works. How I have survived is through upskilling. So like I mentioned, traditionally developers were averse to change. They do not like to get out of their comfort zone until I'm going to lose my job unless I upskill. Like I described, today it's a different time. So we need people who can be part of the enterprise ready workforce, adapt to digital transformation, and polyglots. Developers are polyglots. So upskilling has become very important. The other one would be follow your passion. So, as a hiring manager, I'm talking to a lot of candidates. I need a good answer when I ask the question that why are you looking for a change, or what are you looking at, from my company? And I have seen that most of them run behind money. Agree that money is an important criteria, but it should not be the only criteria. Youngsters, they should have a goal, have a passion, and work towards it. So when you work on what you're passionate about, money will follow. So I would say my two advices would be upskilling and following your passion. Advice for upcoming designers: know your users. That's as simple as that. Don't get bogged down by boundaries. So I've been part of design teams where there is a pushback. I mean, I think currently the organizations are going through mindset change where experience is given importance, but say user experience team still gets a lot of pushback where they say maybe we'll do it next time, or what you're suggesting is not possible. So don't lose heart, stick in there, keep designing for the user, don't compromise, keep pushing the boundaries. So that would be my advice for user experience designers, not to give lose heart.
Nicely tied in, Nimisha. Thanks a lot. Do you do in your non-coding, non-working hours?
So how it works is Monday to Friday, I follow a routine because it helps. It gets
Yeah.
things done, be it at home or work. Saturday, Sunday, I just let go. So many people have that impression that, I kind of follow my routine with rigor on weekends at home, but that's totally wrong. Saturday, Sunday go totally chaotic, or holidays, it's like just do what you want, it's free reign. I just have very basic hobbies. Like I said, I love to travel, love to try new cuisines, shop, or catch up on movies. It's just anything which just relaxes the mind and takes off the work stress or your daily stress. Anything which gives me peace of mind is what I try out.
Nice way, lovely way to bring this conversation to a close. I'm sure, and I hope we get a lot more opportunity to bring some more conversations, maybe more focused ones. But it was really
Sure.
nice listening to your story, Nimisha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on this show, Chitra. Thank you so much.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Malavika for promoting the Software People stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.